Hi guys, welcome back to the channel for another video today. If you are new here, my name is Brittany. I've lost 115 pounds in almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years on November 17th on a GLP-1, and I share all of that here. So from the very first shot that I took in my bathroom all the way up till here, weigh-ins, the struggles, the wins, all of it. Research, other people's stories, anything you can think of in a fun, relatable manner has been shared here. So if you are interested in subscribing and sticking around, I would love to have you. So today I am doing something a little bit different. I opened up the floor in Facebook, on my Facebook group, for you guys to give me topics that you want discussed or maybe to learn a little bit more about. In some of this is GLP-1 related. I had a couple questions about my tummy tuck, stuff like that, but things that people want to know more about, GLP-1 or not GLP-1, and I kind of gave them the space to ask those questions, and I'm gonna address them all here in this video. I'm really excited to share this one with you and dive a little bit more into GLP-1s, but also me. Again, there's questions about mental health, there's questions about my tummy tuck, there's all types of different questions. So we're gonna get into it today. So if you're interested in just sitting and having a nice long chat with me, then grab yourself something to drink. I have my berry sangria refresher, the new Christmas Dunkin' one, so good. Get yourself a snack, cozy up under a blanket, and spend some time with me today. So we're just gonna go ahead and dive right on into it. So I am going to mix things up. So we'll do a GLP-1 question, we'll do a tummy tuck question, whatever, so that it's not all focused on one thing and then switches and you have to kind of sit through boring stuff if you're not interested in GLP-1 or whatever. So we're just gonna go ahead and start off. I have all of the questions pulled up or written down right in front of me. So let's just let's dump into it. Let's just jump right on into it. So if I have the name of the person that asked the question, some of the ones that I wrote down, I did not write names, but I will say the first name. So we're gonna start with Cheryl. So Cheryl says, I'm currently rewatching all of your videos on your journey. I started from the beginning and wow, what a transformation. I started following you about when you had lost 60 pounds, so I wanted to go back and see from the beginning. Emotionally, it must be almost overwhelming sometimes to look at how much has happened. The thing I noticed about you the most is that you look so glowing and happy. Thank you. You look successful and energized. You seem stronger than when you first started out on your weight loss journey. Do you feel that way? First off, Cheryl, thank you so much. I get these comments every now and then. People will sprinkle them in, and I can't tell you how good it feels for just like a recognition that other people notice the changes that I have felt on the inside, that I'm portraying those also on the outside. So thank you so much for saying that. It means so much to me. So yeah, I do definitely feel that way. And more so than a physical transformation, the emotional and mental transformation has been tenfold better than the physical one for me. I've said 100 times, I'm able to set boundaries now and stick to those boundaries. I'm able to compartmentalize things in my life and really place things where they belong, whether that be blame or whether that be, a moment in time that just needs to happen and be left there, an emotional outburst, whatever. I'm a lot better at dealing with emotion overall than I ever was before. And I 100% thank GLP-1s for that. And I feel like I have finally found my voice in the world through sharing my GLP-1 journey, but also sharing other struggles, like my past struggles and stuff. I feel like I finally found this little spot that is mine and that I fit into. I've kind of finally found my box, right? That Brittany fits in. So thank you so much for saying that. The next question, can you talk more about your tummy tuck? Did you have muscle repair? What was the recovery like for you? And do you have any tips? This person said that they are considering getting one. So if you do not know, if you're not from my original channel, I have an entire tummy tuck playlist on the other channel that I will link down below so you can go watch that. It is literally I'm a good documenter apparently, because it literally starts with my consult and then all the way through a year I might have even done a 2-year update on how things looked and how things healed and troubles that I had and all of that. So I was updating in the beginning every week right after my surgery, and then monthly after that. And then like 2 months and 3 months and 6 months, whatever. So definitely go and check that out if you want a really in-depth thing. But what I will say, I will answer these questions as they were written. So did I have muscle repair? Yes. Mine was actually not my muscle separation. I think she said it was like 2 fingers. I had a friend that was like 4 fingers, but yes. So I had a muscle separation from getting pregnant and having babies, which she had told me a fun fact that like literally every woman that has been pregnant and had a baby has some type of muscle separation. Like it's just, you can't not, right? So I had a 2 finger, and essentially what they do is they take these like internal like steel stitches and they pull your muscles back together and stitch them up. And then your muscles will eventually like kind of, as the stitching like heals and dissolves, they will just kind of mend back together or whatever. Now you can't actually mess that up. Fun fact, if you like exercise too soon, or if you like sit up too hard, like I remember her telling me that you literally could feel it. Like if your stitches broke, you would feel them pop. So like in the first several weeks, and like she was like, I would see a patient that would come in and they'd be nice and flat, and the next week they would come in saying they heard a pop and they were rounded out again. So you definitely could feel if they popped. So yes, I did get a muscle repair. I think that's the part that gives you like the true flat definition stomach that you're looking for with a tummy tuck. The recovery, like for me, was actually great. And I know that's like iffy to say because some people have such a hard time with it, but for me, the pain was not that bad. I kept up on my pain medicine. I did what she told me to do. I wore my compression around the clock for 6 weeks and then at night for another 6 weeks. And I had beautiful results and I healed beautifully, and it's just perfect. So my tip is go on several consults. Most of the time the consult fees will come off if you ended up choosing them. So I went to 3 different consults that all cost me $100. I wasted 2 of them. So I spent $200, but in my mind it was worth it to get a few opinions. So get opinions. This is a big deal, right? So get lots of opinions. Make sure that you have a good vibe with your doctor. There was another doctor in that same practice that I met with for a checkup when my original doctor wasn't there, and I did not vibe with her. And I left that day, and they were actually best friends. And I left that day, and I told my husband, I told Chris, I was like, she could not have done my surgery because the disconnect in us communicating was so there, it was so present that we wouldn't have been able to, I just wouldn't have been able to have her operate on me. So make sure you have a good connection with the person that's going to be slicing you open, and make sure like they're answering all of your questions. You're prepared. You're going with a ton of questions. So yeah, my biggest tip is to get a lot of advice, a lot of like consults. You want to meet with several surgeons, and you want to do what they tell you to do. Just follow the directions. Now, there are surgeons that'll be like, you only have to wear a compression for 3 weeks. They're all different. I'm just saying I wore it for 6 weeks, another 6 weeks at night, and my results are beautiful. Again, if you want to go see them, I will link that below, but we'll move on from this. Number 3, how do you not compare your journey to other people's journeys? So I think this person wants some advice on how to kind of like stop your mind from caring about how much more weight loss other people are having compared to you. I mean, honestly, that is just a decision that you have to make. And I know that is so hard. Thankfully, when I started my journey, there was nobody else, right? I mean, I've said this before, as far as YouTube goes, there was nobody. I mean, Chrissy G, I don't even know if she makes content anymore, was around. The Countess might have been around, but everybody else came much after. And so there was nobody, I wasn't seeing it all day, every day. I didn't know people in my life that were on it. And so I didn't have anybody else to compare myself to. And I'm also somebody who just doesn't do that naturally. Like I'm just like, well, whatever, you do you, I'll do me. But if you're struggling with that, I would say look at your own wins. So this is a big deal why I always say to like keep a journal. Write down not just your weight, but like how you're feeling, your non-scale victories, taking pictures, stuff like that, so you can reflect on your own journey. So when you're feeling like you're not going fast enough or you're not doing enough, you can go back, look through your journal and say, no, that, 2 weeks ago I couldn't fit in this pair of jeans and today I tried them on and they button. So I am benefiting. Everybody is going to lose weight at a different rate. It's just the way, like, we are all different humans. We're all different, metabolically, we're all different. And so you're going to lose weight differently than I'm going to lose weight. So we have to really separate that in our mind and be able to look within ourselves and look at our own experience and judge how it's going for us based on our own experience, which is why journaling is just so important. Okay. The next one comes from Dawn. I wonder how different doing GLP-1s years after gastric bypass really is. I'm actually quite interested. I have some stuff to say about this one. I had it in 2018. I lost 100 and I gained 65 pounds back. I've already lost 40 pounds, but don't look it. But I went down from a size 22 to a size 18. My daughter can't afford GLP-1 and she will be having gastric bypass. I've warned her about giving into cravings. I was strong for a long time. So first off, Dawn, you are not alone in any stretch of the imagination. So there is literal Facebook groups, huge ones, talking about people who had a gastric bypass and now they are on a GLP-1. My own mom, and that's why I said I have some stuff to say about this. My mom had gastric bypass in 2003, 2004. I was in high school. And she was at one point like 350 pounds. She got down to like 160-ish and then ended up gaining over, change of life and all of that up to, I think, like 240-ish. And she tried everything after that. Like, she went on phentermine, she dieted all the time. Like, the point being that the problem with just gastric bypass surgery is that it doesn't turn off that food noise, right? So like you said, you warned your daughter about cravings. They're going to come back, or they're not really even going away when you do a gastric bypass. You're literally just making your stomach smaller, and it's not addressing any of the other hormonal things, any of the insulin resistance, any of the blood sugar regulation. One of the big things about GLP-1s is that they help insulin to do what it's supposed to do in the body. So insulin is how your body decides, and your insulin levels is how your body decides what it needs to store and what it needs to get rid of. And so that gastric bypass is not addressing that in any way, shape, or form. So your question of how different doing a GLP-1 years after gastric bypass really is, my mom had gastric bypass. She started a GLP-1 very shortly after I did. So I kind of started it, and then everybody in my family at this point has been on one. But she has lost, she's so thin right now. She's probably like 150 pounds. She says that it is night and day from how she felt after the gastric bypass, because all it did was just make it so she couldn't eat. It didn't make her not want to eat. So she would often eat and then like throw up because she didn't treat her addiction. She couldn't stop it, right? Whereas now she doesn't think about food. She doesn't want to binge eat. She's not, my mom used to go, sorry mom, but she used to go and buy like boxes of Hostess cupcakes and eat them. We used to go around her house and find her stashes of Hostess cupcakes. And she doesn't, she says it is night and day how you feel on one versus how you feel after surgery. And I know there are so many of my viewers who have done both and would 100% agree with that. I think, there's a surgeon, a gastric bypass surgeon, an obesity doctor. His name is Dr. Yi. He works with Orderly and does a lot of the, conferences and webinars and stuff that Orderly will put out. And he was like, you can put me out of business because, in 20 years, gastric bypass might not even be a thing except for a very select group of people. And a lot of times now they're actually prescribing them alongside each other for people who, like, extreme cases of people that weigh 600-700 pounds that need both. So yeah, that's kind of what my thought on it is. My mom says it's night and day. The next one is a little bit of a trigger warning. Before I get into it, we're going to talk a little bit about like mental illness and abuse and stuff like that. So this person said, thank you for giving us a voice. Mental illness is not an excuse for hurting someone. I'll explain this after I finish it. But my eternal fight has been, why did you, and then she put parentheses, my mom, sacrifice all of your other children's well-being for one child? So this person has a very similar story to me, as in they had a abusive sibling who, then was put above others just because of their mental illness. So I've shared this a lot on my channel. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I've touched on it, right? So I had a sibling, I guess technically, my oldest sibling, who abused me for close to 10 years of my life. And then many years later, we found out that he had actually abused most of the other siblings as well. There are 6 of us. He abused all but one. And it's very unclear on why not that one. But anyway, all that to say, he is a paranoid schizophrenic, and my mom, not necessarily, my dad's a character all in itself, and who knows why he does anything that, or did anything that he did. But my mom definitely had a hard time focusing the blame where it needed to be focused, because he was mentally ill. It wasn't, in terms of like speaking out and ending communication with him, that was more so my fault, whereas the blame should be spent with him because he's the one that did it, whatever. But that's what this person is referring to. So she hasn't gotten to the point yet where she's been able to compartmentalize the position that her mother must be in. And so what I've said before is I have had to get to a point, and it's been through therapy and it's been through crying myself to sleep so many nights, to realize that that part of my life is just something that my mom cannot help me with. And it's sad, and I'm not saying it's right and it's shitty, but it's just how it is. She has the capacity her focus has always been on him. And, in her mind, you're a healthy adult, Brittany. You have kids and you have a husband and you have, somebody's going to take care of you when you're older. And he has none of that. And he's mentally ill. And what's he going to do when I die and I'm gone? And so her mind has always been very focused on that. And so she has not been able to provide me what I need in that time. And so we just don't talk about it. And so I feel for the person who asked this question, because I've been in that position, the point where I would just cry to my mom, like, why can't you be on my side? When she used to stick up for him to me, I would say, why can't you just like let me complain, let me talk about what happened to me, and not make excuses for it, and not blame it on generational trauma, or not blame it on his illness, or not blame it on all these other things? Why can't you just say, I'm sorry you went through that? She's never been able to. And I just accept that now. And I hope and wish that you will be able to get to a point where you can forgive your mom for the position that she's been put in, because she's in a crappy one too, and move on with some type of relationship with her, because it really is shitty. I'm never going to win that fight, and I gave up on it a long time ago. And my mom is amazing in so many other ways that it's just not worth, to me, sacrificing the whole relationship. My kids are safe. I'm safe. I don't see him. I see my mom. We don't talk about him. And that's just how it is. And, I hope that you can find some type of peace with that as well. Okay, moving on from that. How do you change, this is from Pamela, how do you change the mindset of don't eat, cut back, to now on the shot you have to eat? It's so hard. Oh, that is a hard one. And that is one that so many of us struggle with, right? Because for so long we've been told you have to eat 1,200 calories a day, or, you have to not eat that. Don't eat that much, smaller portions, don't eat, skip a meal, whatever. And now on the GLP-1, when you don't want to eat, but then you have this mind set of, okay, well, I know I have to eat, right? Like I can't starve myself, but then we've been in the starve ourselves mode for so long. It's tricky. I will say that for me, I started noticing that I just felt like crap. Every time I would increase my dosage, I would be so tired. I'd have no energy. I couldn't even pick up boxes. It was awful. And I finally was like, I need to eat some food. So trying and adding in a little bit more slowly is really a good idea, so that you don't upset your stomach. But you have to feed yourself. You have to eat. And I know it's hard, and I wish I had more advice on that. But just, you know, you don't want to have a Ozempic face. You don't want to lose all your hair. You want to be able to run around and play with your kids or your grandkids or whatever. And you just have to eat. Like, take it slow, but make sure that you're nourishing your body and keeping an open conversation with your doctor about how you're feeling in terms of that is also really beneficial, as always. What's the number one thing you've learned? Maybe a top 5 would be awesome. This was by Danelle. Danelle, it's Danell. So Danelle? Okay. Oh, the number one thing I have learned. Oh my gosh. Okay. I have several that I could talk about. I'll talk about the few that popped first into my mind because I feel like those are the ones that are the most important. Number one, it was never about calories. I'm probably going to get I always get pushback on that, but it's calories matter, right? Like, you obviously have calories in versus calories out matters, but it also, like, it was never about so much what you're eating. You know, for so many years you would hear people that would say, I don't eat anything, or I've been trying to lose weight. I've been eating, 1,500 calories for a year and I've not lost any weight. Because now we know that it's also very much so about insulin. Like I was telling you, with your body knowing what to hold on to and what to let go of, and fat storage and all of that. And so for so many of us, it's more than just what we're putting in our mouth. It's how our body was broken, and learning that it wasn't all my fault, meaning it wasn't all just what I was eating, was life-changing for me. And it allowed me to let go of that guilt of, I made myself this way. I caused myself to be 250 pounds, because that's not what the case was. I never was a huge eater. I just wasn't. My body was broken. And it's like the instant that I put that shot in my body, it was instant for me. My body was like, oh, this is what we're supposed to do with this insulin. And this is what we actually need to keep from this food. And this is what we can get rid of. It's like my body flipped and healed itself overnight. And so don't think that it's just what you're eating and that you have to feel guilty about what you eat. There are people now that like say that they never even change their eating habits, like the amount that they eat or anything, and they've lost weight. It's literally just that their body is doing what it should do with the medicine now, or with the food that they eat now. So it's pretty cool. But that's definitely, like, that mental flip for me was very huge. The next thing that I have learned is that health and wellness is about so much more than just weight loss. And again, the GLP-1 healed me mentally in such a way that there's some wind blowing outside, I guess, that it allowed my body to truly be well and truly heal. It's for me, the biggest thing I've learned is that there's so much more mentally going on that is wrong or that was broken versus the food that we're eating. And recognizing that shift and being able to say that it wasn't my fault was life-changing for me. Life-changing, absolutely. What can I do for the horrible burps? Kay wants to know. They keep me up at night. I have them all day too. I'm down 61 pounds in 7 months. I'm on Mounjaro, 5 milligrams. Okay. I wish I had advice for the sulfa burps. That's what they're called. They taste like eggs. Everybody in the room can smell them after you burp. They're awful. I get it. I don't have any advice. I struggled with them in the beginning a lot, and they naturally kind of went away over time. So what it is that your digestion is so slowed that food will sit in there for a long time, and like gases and stuff will develop, and then you belch them out and they're stinky. Some people say to like go longer between meals. So like let your stomach kind of eat smaller meals so that you're letting your stomach empty and then nothing's kind of sitting there for a long time. That's the one tip that I've heard that might work. But yeah, they just kind of suck. And a lot of people have just kind of had to deal with them. Sorry, Kay. I wish I had more advice for that. I got a couple questions about retatrutide. So Kate asked, have I done any research on Retta? So I have done some on Retta, and it works so well for so many people, and I'm hoping that it's going to be approved relatively soon. I think they're expecting in 2026. But Retta is very powerful, and from everything that I've seen, it's going to be for people who, like, not me on maintenance now, and not most of you having already lost a lot of weight. We're talking people that are like 400 or 500 pounds, because it is so powerful, that the expected requirements for retatrutide are much, much higher BMIs and stuff like that. And that's kind of where I've been with it. I've not dived too far into it. The topic itself is difficult right now because of it being used so widely on a research grade level, that I've kind of like, I don't want to get flagged for saying things about it. And then Kelly, so that's the second part of this. Kelly asked if Orderly will be offering Retta. So again, it was brought up once in a meeting, an affiliate meeting, and the consensus was kind of like, yeah, maybe someday in the future, that sort of thing. But it's not approved right now, and so there's no definitive things on whether or not Orderly or any of the other telehealths really will offer it. I'm assuming that most of them will once it is available, but that's not something that they can sell right now and be legal with it. So it's not approved, obviously. So anybody that you see doing Retta right now is doing research grade or whatever. Now I totally understand the people that want to add in Retta or that want to try Retta. Like, I get that. Personally, I wouldn't mind giving it a try, but I am a very I'm just like, I know that the gray market helps a lot of people, and that a lot of people do it in a way that it works for them. I am just like too much of a scaredy cat. And so I will probably wait until it is approved or whatever. Okay, let's move back to these ones over here. The importance of exercising. So, I mean, I think this one is like, and that was another question on this post as well. Terry asked, how about exercises to prevent or rebuild muscle mass? A topic I wish I knew about earlier in my journey. It is important on any wellness journey to move your body. Like, moving your body in general is just so important because it releases endorphins and helps with dopamine levels. And so it improves your mental health, which improves everything else in your body. It helps with your digestion, helps flush things out of your body, like inflammation and stuff that don't need to be in your body. Exercise helps you with everything, right? Sort of like water and exercise. If you need a recipe for health, water, exercise, do those two things, right? But there's a lot of people that are like very much so on the fence about exercise with weight loss. So it's either you absolutely have to do it, or it's like focus on one thing at a time. So I'm kind of mixed reviews. I wish that I had started maybe lifting weights earlier in my journey, but at the same time, same side of the coin, I hate lifting weights, and I'm just not somebody that's probably going to do it. There was another comment that I saw about my walks. Like, I love your walks. Can you talk about why you choose walking over other exercise methods or whatever? I've always been, I went through a period in my life where I was very heavy exercising. I've talked about this before. So I was lifting weights 4 or 5 times a week. I was running 5-6 miles every single day, and my body was torn to pieces. Like, I was sore all the time. I woke up with headaches all the time. It was just awful. My knees hurt. Every time I would start running, my knees would pop and crack and they would hurt. But some part of me was like, I have to do this or I'm going to gain all this weight back. I had lost like 40 or 50 pounds at that point in my life. It was before my last baby. And so I kept doing it. And, I did that, right? So then I had my last baby, COVID hit. I tried to pick up running again, and I did it for a while, but I'm just at this point in my life, I'm 37 years old, where I want to live a soft existence. I don't want to stress my body out in any way, shape, or form. For me personally, it's how I function the best, right? I'm not saying sit on your couch all day and don't exercise, no, but going for a nice long walk with a weighted vest suffices. There's a lot of talk. There's a big misconception in the weight loss, in the GLP-1 space, about how the GLP-1 directly causes muscle loss. And that's just not true. There's been literally nothing to prove that the GLP-1 itself causes the muscle loss. What causes the muscle loss is the quick weight loss. So this all kind of goes back to making sure that you're losing in a sustainable way. If you don't want to lose a ton of muscle mass, if you're losing a ton of weight really quickly, then yes, I mean, different things need to happen, right? So maybe dosage adjustments, maybe adding more protein into your diet, maybe adding, a lot of people are doing creatine, maybe adding in some more vitamins, muscle, weightlifting, whatever. But it's very individualized based on you, your body, your doctor, what they recommend. I personally do not think that every single person on a GLP-1 needs to go lift weights several times a week or whatever to be doing it the correct way. I think the only correct way is the right way for you. So I highly recommend just talking to your doctor about it, seeing what they recommend for you. A weighted vest helps. I've been using one recently. I shared it in the Facebook group the other day, weighted ankles. There are ways to do like weight retention exercises without physically going in a gym and lifting a ton of weight. It's just my 2 cents about it. But also keep in mind that comes from a girl that hates weightlifting and probably will never do it in her life. So that's just how I am. I would prefer a nice hike, a long walk any day of the week. And if that's how I move my body, at least I'm moving my body, right? Okay. Concentration versus dosing. Oh, okay. So I had tried to make a video about this at one point and I just I messed it up and I deleted the video. Like this is a topic so many telehealth companies, all of them, they all do this. They send you your medicine and they'll say, okay, take 12.5 units a week. And so people will say, when you say, what dosage are you on? Oh, I'm on 12 units, but that's not your dosage. Okay. So the concentration in the vial of how that particular pharmacy mixes it is how the units come to be. So a lot of them are like 60 milligrams per 3 milliliters or whatever. Like that's an example. That's how the ProRx 15 milligram vials are, which is what I take. So that's how I know that 60 milligrams per 3 milliliters. Okay. And then every milliliter is so much of the milligrams based off of it. So the concentration in the units of your vial directly correlate to how many milligrams you're on, but they are not your dosage. So for example, the dosage of Orderly, the 60 or the ProRx, the 60 milligrams for 3 milliliters, 12.5 units is 5 milligrams. That's not going to be another pharmacy might have a different concentration. And so therefore 3 units might be 2 milligrams. You know what I mean? So you just have to make sure. And that's why it's so important to look at every single vial that you get, even if it comes from the same pharmacy, because sometimes they'll change things up. Every vial you start, look at the concentration, look at what it tells you to take, because 12.5 units from ProRx is not necessarily 12.5 units from Hallandale or Red Rock or BPI. They're all different. You have to make sure that you're looking at that. That's how a lot of dosing errors happen. And then you're going to get real bad side effects that you could, just read the vial and do what it tells you to do. But ask, you should know how many milligrams you're on, right? Ask questions. Units is not your dosage. Units is the amount that you're drawing up that equates to your dosage, but it's going to be different for everybody. So you telling me you're on 12 units does nothing for me because I have no idea what the concentration of your vial is. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully that made sense. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. So Danelle asked this one as well. She said, what does your typical day look like? Not just what you eat, but your whole day. Fun. Okay, so I have done a couple of what I eat in a day where I try to include more of my life, but I'll give you a basic rundown of a day, of a weekday in my life. Forewarning, I'm a busy little girl. Okay, so I typically wake up at about 6 and so my husband leaves for work very, very early. So he's never in our whole marriage been home to help with any of the morning stuff, which, is fine. He goes to work. But anyway, so I get up at 6, I get all 3 kids ready. Well, Bryson's 14, so he does himself, but I get all 3 kids ready for school, pack lunches, breakfast, cleaning up breakfast, taking the dog out, feeding the dog, all of that type of stuff, getting myself ready. And I get all 3 kids off to school. Then I typically will go walking right after. So I'm already out of the house. So I just go to the park that I walk at, and I'll walk for about an hour. And this is most days, I would say. There are definitely days where it's like raining or whatever, and I come home and I do something different, but that's what I do most days. Come home and shower, then I will work. So I typically will work for about a 3-hour chunk in the middle of the day and get most of the stuff done for that day that I need to do, whether it's filming, whether it's editing, answering emails, doing research, whatever. I'll work for a solid 3 hours. I will break for lunch and walk the dog. Then I will go back to work. Typically what happens is I'll do like researching and then I will film after. So then I'll work again for another hour, hour and a half, and then I will clean. So then I will get up and I will do all of the cleaning that we need to do throughout the day, or throughout the week or whatever, which, 3 kids and a dog is a lot. And then I go pick up all the kids from school. Then we go to all the practices. So we have a competitive swimmer and a competitive basketball player. So we have practices every single night. And Chris and I switch, or a game every single night. And so Chris and I will switch off. So he's going to a basketball game, I'm going to swim practice. The next day we switch. He goes to swim, I go to basketball. And so typically Bryson will have, the games are just starting, but he has like 3 a week, and then practice on the other days. So we will do that, come home, cook dinner, bedtime routine, baths, put everybody in bed, watch TV, go to bed. And that's my life all the time. I am very much so a creature of habit. And I just don't have a lot of time for other things. Now, are there days where I'm just like, I'm caught up on work, I'm gonna go to Sam's Club? Yeah, but maybe once every couple of weeks. I function very well in a routine. And so I like to keep it that way for the most part, or I don't feel as productive, and I like to feel productive. So yeah, usually when I eat lunch, I'll sit and like watch a TV show, whatever show I'm watching, I'll watch an episode of that while I eat my lunch. So I do have some like downtime, but then it's pretty much right back up if I want to get everything done that I need to get done. So that was a good question. Thank you for caring a lot about that. Okay, last question, I think, and then I am going to end this because it's almost 40 minutes long, even though there were more questions. So if you want me to do a part 2, just let me know. What Gerald asks, what's better for cardiovascular health, being on semaglutide with no weight loss or tirzepatide with moderate weight loss but no proven benefits? Gerald. I don't know. Do I have anybody that wants to weigh in on that question? I think that like medically, again, I'm not a doctor, they would say the semaglutide is better for cardiovascular health because that's the one that has been proven to have cardiovascular benefits, right? But if you lose 100 pounds on tirzepatide, is your heart going to be in a better condition or a better shape? I don't know. I want to hear y'all's opinion on that. That's a good one to end on, Everybody let Gerald know what you think about that one. If I was like trying to choose between one or the other, I personally would probably still go with tirzepatide, but like, what is the correct answer on that? I think that's a really good, like thought-provoking question. So let Gerald know what you think about that. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you made it this far, you are a real one. Stay tuned for more content coming up in terms of I'm gonna do like a picture video or whatever for my 3 years coming soon next week. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day, guys. Bye.